Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to be continuing on with our C# tutorial series, and in this tutorial we are going to be taking a look at lists in C#. Now, lists in C# are a type of collection that is dynamic. So it can contain as the name implies, a list of values, and it can continually grow or shrink depending on what you do with it, and there's no need to define the amount of elements in a list on your own. It just automatically changes. Alright. So, how do we even go about creating lists then? Well, we can create a list by using the list class in the system.collections.generic namespace. So if you're not using top level statements, you're gonna have to import it by doing using system.collections.generic. Otherwise, it's already done for you behind the scenes by Visual Studio, so we are good. Now, in our code then, let's say we want to have a list of numbers, and we want the user to be able to store those items in a list as their input. Well, we can do that by first defining our list of integers, and this can be list, like this, opening and closing angle brackets, and in between these brackets we need to give it the type that we want to store. In this case, integers. So int goes in between those. Then give it a name. We're going to say numbers equals a new list of int, like that, with opening and closing parentheses. Pretty simple stuff. So now that we've created our list, let's go ahead and create the logic that we need for getting the user input and, having the user say, hey, I want to enter another number, or no, I don't want to enter another number. So right below our list, we can say string input and have that be not initialized from the beginning. Then we can do a do while, and inside of our parentheses we can say while the input is equal to a y, like a lowercase y, or input is equal to an uppercase Y. Okay. Then we can go ahead and say, inside of the do loop, we can go ahead and do a console.write. And inside of the console.write, we can say, please enter a number, like that. Now we can go ahead and do an integer. So int, we'll say value equals convert.toInt32, and inside of here we can say console.readLine, like that. And let's actually go ahead and then do a try. And we can do that. And there we go. Okay. We're going to catch the format exception. And if we have a format exception, we just want to console.writeLine you did not enter a number exiting the program. Because by this point in the catch, input won't be anything. It'll be null, so it won't meet the loop's condition, so it'll break. Okay. Then, inside of our actual try block, we can do now we need to add the value to the list. And how do we do that? Well, we can refer to the object name, so numbers dot, and call the add method. And to the add method, we pass it value. So now, whatever value the user entered is added to the list. Okay. Next, we need to get the input from the user as to whether or not they want to enter another number. So we can say console.write. Do you want to enter another number? /n, like that. And then we can say input equals console.readLine, like that. Okay. So now we can go ahead and do a Control F5 to run our code. And we have a build error. So let's go into our error list and see what happened. Okay, so input is unassigned. But that's okay. Yeah. Okay. So I guess okay, so I guess what we'll do instead is we can Okay, let's go ahead and do that instead of having to try catch. We can just go and do that right there. Go ahead and do that. And get rid of the try catch entirely. Okay. Now we can try and run our code. Okay, there we go. Now that we have our code all tidied, let's go ahead and add a couple numbers. So 10. Yes. 5. Yes. Now you can see because I entered something other than y or n, or rather anything other than y, it exited the loop. So now, that we have a understanding about how we can add items to a list, let's talk about how we can reference the items inside of a list. Right? So here at the bottom of our code, we can do two different things, I guess. Here we can use a normal for loop with the index counter and all that stuff, or we can do a for each. Either works fine. To loop through the list with for each is probably a better way of doing it, but I'm going to show you how to use the normal for loop with the index counter to show you that how you reference items in a list works exactly the same way that you would referring to items in a normal array. So we're going to do for int I equals 0, I is less than. Now we need now here's the thing, right? With arrays, we were able to do the length property, but for a list, we have a count property. So I is less than numbers dot. Now you can see that we don't have a length property. We need a count. That tells us how many items are inside of our list. I++, like that. And do that. Okay. Now, if we want to print out each individual item of the array, we can do a console.writeLine, and we can say numbers, opening and closing square bracket, and put I in there. And we can go ahead and run our code again. Enter. Now we need to enter some numbers. 2, y, 3, y, 4, y, 5. And then we'll do an n. And let's go ahead and do an invert colors here. If we go back here, you can see where we've entered all of our numbers. Let's try running that again here. But this time we're going to do it in a normal like command prompt. We need D:, CD. Do that. Okay. Done that run. Okay, and please enter a number. 1. Yes. 2. 3. 4. 5. No. And so now you can see it output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from our list. If my computer will cooperate with me. Okay. So with that, we now know how to add items to a list. I am going to comment the rest of this out. Okay. Okay, and that should be good. All right, so now that we've commented out all of our existing code, we can now actually create. Let's see, did we comment out our list? No, we did not. Okay, that works in our favor. So now let's go ahead and add a couple random numbers to our list. Numbers dot add 5. Numbers dot add 10. Numbers dot add 15. Numbers dot add 20. Okay. Alright, so now that we have some numbers added here, we can go ahead and remove a number. Right? So how do we remove a number? Well, we use the remove method. So let's say we want to remove 15. We can say numbers dot remove. And then in between the parentheses, we need to tell it which element to remove. And in this case, 15 is what we want to remove. So give it the element specifically, so it'll find it, and it will remove it. And there we go. Now we can't see that it removed it, but the fact that it ran demonstrates that it did do what we needed it to. If you need more confirmation, we can do this. Console. Okay. Right line numbers dot count. Okay. And then after we remove the item, we can do another console.writeLine numbers.count. Save it and run your code. And now you can see before we removed it, it was 4. The count was 4. Then after we removed it, it's 3. So now we know how to remove items from a list. Lists have all kinds of other different functionality, such as sorting, all kinds of stuff, including sorting, finding specific elements, filtering items, all that stuff. I urge you to look at the documentation for the list class so you can kind of get a better idea of everything that it can do. But other than that pretty much does it, guys, for this video. Thank you all so very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.